This is the Black Ice Audio F22 V2 tube integrated amplifier. It's got big, glowing tube, and we're gonna break it down right here on the United States of Analog.
Ooh.
The F22 V2, which I'll refer to as the F22 going forward here, has two EL34s or two KT88 output tubes offering up to 85 watts per channel depending on the setup. I got the Sylvain KT88 tube set version spec'd at 75 watts a channel. And like the Jolitas before, the unit is heavy and solid. The units are manufactured in China in a factory owned by Black Ice, and the final checks and quality control done right here in the USA. And the F22 is a full-featured integrated with 4 channels of input switching. There is no included phono preamp or built-in phono preamp. The Black Ice sells some excellent standalone models. There's a single subwoofer out and stereo record out in your choice of 4 or 8 ohm speaker taps. And there's a main power switch on the back. The glass front has a simple layout. Headphone in, you can choose to mute the speakers or not. I don't know why you wouldn't listening to headphones unless I guess you were queuing up records or something. Maybe DJs need that feature. The huge backlit logo, Black Ice logo, also serves as a light touch on off, and the inputs can be selected with a light touch to any of the 4 backlit markers, and they're marked with Roman numerals 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now there's a supplied metal remote, which I will address in a minute, but I really breathed a sigh of relief when the Black Ice team demonstrated the simple but still slightly manual tube biasing protocol. Each channel can be brought into line utilizing the round backlit meter and a small blue tool. This is it right here. After some warm-up, I set each tube to the recommended setting of 60. That was Black Ice's recommendation. You can experiment with other settings at will. It was simple. My old Jolita needed to be placed on its head and required a voltmeter, a screwdriver, a lot of patience, and very steady hands. And by the way, I'll be doing a future video rolling some more tubes into it in the very near future. I just got a brand new set from Sylvain, some brand new EL34s just in, and I'll be doing a video on that. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Much of the F2's advanced circuitry and voicing was shaped by a name you might know. Jim Fosgate. That's right, that Jim Fosgate. The F22 weighs in at over 30 pounds. It's 4.5 inches wide, 7.5 inches tall, and 11.5 inches deep. Depending on the setup, you'll be looking to pay around $2,500 to $3,500 or more. Way back in the mid-90s. Remember the mid-90s? The WWW thing was starting to happen. Cell phones were starting to happen. They were in the hands of consumers now, not just professionals. It was the dawn of a bunch of new technologies, and there was fun stuff too going on, like Nirvana and MTV and Pulp Fiction, and you know, generally pretty good times, right? It was also an era where the compact disc was still king. And, you know, I don't know if it's irony exactly, but I think it was ironic that I selected that time to pick out my very first tube integrated amplifier. And not wanting to risk going vintage and not having enough scratch for, you know, a Macintosh or something like that, I picked up a Jolita 202 from a local dealer. And that silver-faced Jolita is still behind me. It's still in service, and it was built like a tank. With 4 EL34 tubes, it pumped out 40 watts per. It also has two 12AX7s and two 12AT7s, I believe, up front. The 202 had everything that I was looking for at the time in a tube amplifier, not knowing a whole lot about tube amplifiers.
So probably still don't.
But you know, it had that smooth, warm sound I was fully expecting, and a slightly rolled off high end to tame those shrill CDs of the time. And I was spinning a lot of CDs, and like most of the world, I was taking a break from vinyl. Not knowing at the time that was a break, I was going to eventually come back to vinyl. But the unit only cost me about 500 bucks. Maybe a lot of money with inflation. 30 years later, it's still being used, so I got my money's worth. And I've never had an issue with it, and outside of some occasional voluntary tube rolling and, some awkward manual biasing procedures, I, eventually worked it all out and figured it out. Now you fast forward to the spring of 2024 and my first audio show, the Southwest Audio Fest in Dallas. Black Ice Audio, which is Jolita, evolved and rebranded, renamed, occupied one of the bigger spaces there, one of the bigger showrooms with Zoo audio speakers, and they put on quite a show. Now I walked in like BMOC in my t-shirt that I'm wearing here, armed with some cheap stickers and a nervous smile, and I introduced myself to the Black Ice gang. But, I realized they were more interested in meeting my wife, and that's fine. That's fine. Whatever it takes to get your foot in the door. I told them my Jolita story, and within 2 weeks, I was looking at an F22 V2. It's kind of like a modern take on the Jolita 202, and you can really customize this bad boy the way that you want to. Better ISO feet are available. There are tube options from Electro Harmonics, Gold Lion, Tungsol, and Sylvain. Operation of the F22 is pretty simple. Taking out the small tool and dialing in that top meter is so satisfying. It gives you that confidence that you're maximizing the amp's performance, and it's giving you all those analog and tube amp vibes, like you're playing like an engineer or something, It just gives you some hands-on with the equipment and gives you a better emotional attachment, and it's really not that much of a hassle. On power up, I didn't detect any background noise at all from the tubes at my speakers. It was quiet. I connected the F22 to my MoFi studio deck table with the Master Tracker cartridge. I ran it through an assortment of phono pre's that I had available, including the budget shit Manny, the Parks Audio Waxwing DSP, which I recently reviewed, and Black Ice Audio's own $900 Fusion 9 Mark III. Speakers, well, you guessed it, the Klipsch Forte 4s, the Zoo DWX as heard in Dallas. I dug up some old JM Labs, aka Focal, Chorus 706 bookshelves that I originally bought the same day I bought that Jolita. The sound, as you can imagine, was lush and warm, but not lacking authority in the dynamics department. Compared to my Macintosh MA252 100 watt per side tube hybrid, the F22 had more of that punch, more of that excitement and drama that I long for, especially when I'm listening to my favorite rock records and some of my jazz tone poets from Blue Note. The sound was further reinforced by my Rel Classic 98 10-inch sub and that beautiful wood finish. That look and that sound of the Rel added to the vintage vibe, added to the satisfaction of playing the F22. And a sub, while not required with the F22,
I'm not going to hate you if you want to add one.
And the F22 was clearer than my Mac hybrid. While warm, the F22 with the Sylvain glass did not scrimp on the detail. I can't call the sound analytical or neutral, but I don't think you buy a tube amp for those kind of characteristics anyway. The F22 was easy like a Sunday morning, and it still possessed enough power for inefficient speakers like those Chorus and my LS50 Metas. And talking about the power, I had a lot of long discussions with Jared, an engineer at Black Ice, and while I pretended to understand a fraction of what he was telling me, my takeaway, or as my wife would say, the net, was that Black Ice was extremely proud of their amps and their ability to deliver the power to where it counts, your speakers. Jared explained there are a lot of ways that power can be lost or siphoned off inside an amp. The circuitry, the wire chosen, the path. Like a good race car, the F22 can deliver the power to the ground, or in this case, the speakers. Speaking of speakers, they all sounded great with the F22. The F22 gave them each their own space to display their unique personality without suppressing any of their qualities. But for me, the ideal pairing was the Zoo DWX. And perhaps this is why Black Ice and Zoo so often partner up for demonstrations and shows. 80% of what I was listening to was rock. Rock in that sweet spot between yacht rock and death metal. That's where I live. I've always considered both the Fortes and the DWX as great rock and roll speakers. Great rockers. I think they were built for this purpose. But what the Zoo did was, in the absence of any tone controls on the F22, it injected a little bit of chill into all that warmness, a little more finesse into all that power. The Zoos added detail that make instruments and voices appear more clearly in space, more defined. The Zoos widened the soundstage and just, you know, pulled you into the music more. Now the Klipsch may have punched a little harder with those rear-mounted 15-inch passive radiators, but I think the Zoos were the better all-arounders in this case, and again, that's just opinion. Now, as far as the phono stages go, and as you can imagine, the Fusion 9, also guided by Mr. Fosgate, produced amazing results with the F22, as it should for the price, providing more depth and separation in the soundstage. But all that being said, it was also fun to plug in the recently reviewed Waxwing DSP Pre again. With all of the settings available, I was able to make the F22 sound like any number of different amps or kinds of amps and tailor the amp sound to the music I was listening to or to my mood. Analog purists
are furious right now, I know.
And so be it. But that's what the comments below are for, okay? Hit me up if you think that it's a travesty to play the F22 through a DSP Phono Pre. Say what you will, though, it was fun and a great way to listen to music. Now I know what you're saying, Bob, all components have some downside. All right, let's see what we've got here. Form factor wise, well, again, it's kind of a throwback to the Jolita with a little more refinement and sparkle. The Sylvains glow real nice and bright, that nice orange that you want in a tube amp. Now, it's still a free country and the manufacturer has the right to put their logo on the front of their product as large as they want. And Black Ice has done that. They're very proud of this unit. You can tell by the size of the backlit logo.
It's huge!
Some audiophiles might like something a little more demure and mindful.
Yeah, I said it.
Now you know exactly what year this was taped in. So anyway, don't worry about it. You'll get used to that big logo. The lack of tone controls and multi-sub outs may concern some, but this is an amp, pure and simple. Match it with the right components and you may not want for more for many years to come. And finally, I think the metal remote could be a little more refined for my taste. Good weight and all the functionality, but it does feel like it came out of a high school metal shop or something, almost like a prototype, all right? I'm being a little hard on it. I gotta say something negative. Hey, I gotta nitpick, right? Or I might lose your trust, and I don't want to do that. That's it. That's the enthusiast layman's look at the fabulous Black Ice Audio F22 V2. If more information is needed, I'll direct you to my good friends at Black Ice. They are very easy to communicate with, and they are very eager to talk to you about their products and all the reasoning and design behind them. The F22 feels a little old school, and that's a good thing for many audiophiles. Depending on the configuration, you're getting that tube sound and aesthetic well under the cost of a Mac system and maybe even of a good Prima Luna. But make no mistake, the Black Ice Audio F22 still feels like a substantial, powerful, head-turning, big boy component, and like my Jolita 202, may just entertain you for decades. I'll see you next time on the United States of Analog. Look into that F22 and look into this video right here. You know the geniuses at YouTube? They have already selected what video you want to watch next. I'm not even sure what it's going to be, but it's right here. Oh, there it is. Oh, I like that one. That's a good one. Click on it.
Click on it.
Click on it. You'll be glad you did.